What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Retro Hoop Collectibles. Wanted to talk today very quickly, or maybe not too quickly. Y'all know how I do, just to start rambling sometimes. But I wanted to talk a little bit about group submitters. And this is something that I've just it's been on my mind the last couple of weeks. It's a lot, especially since we had the issue go go out to everybody in the hobby about the Marks cards situation and card collector two's involvement with that, and group submitters submitting to a group submitter, and all this other stuff. And I started thinking a lot about when I first got into submitting and some of the things, some of the thoughts that I went through in my head. With when the concept of group submitters was brought to my attention, and I kind of just wanted to walk you guys through my thought process, because I've done both. I've used group submitters, and then I've also submitted cards myself, both with PSA and with SGC as well, and then I've also done CSG, and then I've done HGA, and I've done TGT, and all these other companies that I've submitted through by myself. And what the conclusion that I've come to in doing all of that is basically that group submitters do all of the work of submitting for you, other than maybe a price break, which, depending on how many cards you're submitting, is relatively negligible. And depending on the service that you're looking for, it can be relatively negligible. Maybe a few dollars, up to $5, I think, is the most I've seen in a discount with a group submitter per card. Now, if you're submitting 3 or 4 cards, then it may or may not be worth it, right? And we'll get into why it may or may not be worth it. But if you're submitting several cards, if you're submitting 100 cards and you're going to save $5 a card, well, then, yeah, it's $500. I don't know about y'all, but to me, $500, that's a lot of money. So, it could make sense, right? But I think the overall theme of group submitters is that they take away all of the work that you have to do online, and in the case of BGS, is filling out that, Macy's catalog order form from the 1980s to submit your cards, right? They do all of the legwork. They do all of the shipping. And some group submitters, they will pre-screen your cards as part of the service. And for those of you that don't know what that is they will pre-screen, they will look at your cards and give their assessment on what they think that card will get in terms of a grade. Now, for that, you want to make sure that you're submitting with somebody who's reputable, somebody who has a track record of at least a high percentage of gem rate, that they were right on, what they think is gem mint and what's not. Just want to take a minute here to thank our sponsor, CardHedge. If you're not familiar with CardHedge, it's an online pricing analysis and collection management tool. You guys see me use it all the time on the channel. I use it to check the value and market trends of different cards that I have. You can check the value of raw cards or graded cards from all the top grading companies. They have all that information pulled there on the site. Online pricing analysis tool is constantly being updated with up-to-date pricing in real time. CardHedge also has a massive catalog of cards that they have on the platform, and it's growing by the thousands every single day. My favorite thing of all is the comparator that they have, which allows you to compare different prices of the same exact card, but in different grading from different grading companies. So that's really handy whenever you're trying to decide where to send your cards off to get graded. They follow all the prices for all the top sports cards, as well as NFTs and Top Shots, if you're into that. And some more other things that they got currently in development. They're offering a 7-day trial to give you the opportunity to take it for a test drive. Click on the link below if you want to visit the website and get more details. You'll see a lot of some of the submitters, advertise their gem rates Some of them are very good, and some of them are not so good. I don't know. I would imagine that anybody who has less than an 80% gem rate wouldn't necessarily be advertising that. So, there is some benefit other than them just doing the paperwork. They also can screen your cards and things like that. And so there's a little bit of, if you're the type of person that doesn't really like, maybe you're not very tech savvy, maybe you're not, you're not feeling, you don't feel comfortable enough with navigating through several pages on the internet on a company's website, or like for a PSA or SGC, for example. Maybe you don't feel confident enough to know exactly what to label your card, or what your card would be labeled as, or what your card is for that matter. Then typically group submitters are very valuable in that case, right? They take away a lot of that guesswork, they take away a lot of that legwork, and then also they provide some additional services that might help you out in whether or not to spend your money on getting a particular card graded, right? If you have a card that's got some sentimental value, or you're trying to finish out a collection or a set, then you probably don't care about whether or not what your card's going to get. You're going to send it in no matter what. So they do offer like those types of services. So if you're the type of person, again, who does not like to surf the internet, or you don't feel like some of those websites are very user friendly or very intuitive, then a group submitter is probably what you want to do. However, if you decide that, no, I feel pretty confident with, skimming through the page and following directions, and you can make sense of things that aren't necessarily the most intuitive thing in the world, because some of the submitting websites are not the most user friendly. They're not very intuitive. Then, if you feel confident and you feel good about it, and you're pretty familiar with, filling out forms online and doing a little bit of research, if you're not too, for example, I'll use this card here as an example. My boy Alan just sent this over to me. This is a Yao Ming card. This is actually a pretty good example of a type of card where submitting it would be tricky, right? So you guys can't see this, but maybe my brother, I'll send my brother some pictures so he can put it up here. Here. The back of this, it doesn't have a card number. It's 2004 tops, so it can either be 2003, 2004, or it can be 2004, 2005. And then the number on the back of the card is just JEYM. There really is no number on it. So things like this can be pretty tricky when you're trying to fill out the order form on PSA's website, SGC's website, whatever going on. Something like this would probably be a little bit more, a little bit easier to do. This actually has a number. It's a 2003, 2004, that type of thing. So it can get kind of tricky with the names and stuff like that. But again, if you feel confident with filling out those forms, and you're okay with doing a little bit of research, I like tradingcarddatabase.com. I think it's tcdb.com to do my research, to find what cards are. If I got kind of like one of those oddball cards, I'll use that website to do some research, and I'll link that in the description so you guys can use that as a resource as well. Typically you're going to pay a little bit more, a few bucks, but again, if you're only submitting maybe like 3 or 4 cards on your own, and you like being able to log on to the website yourself, be able to check on things yourself, be able to pay for things yourself. That's another thing about group submitters. They'll typically charge you. Some will charge you ahead of time. Some will charge you whenever your card's done. So that's kind of a thing that you'd have to weigh to decide how you like to handle that, depending on your own personal finances or whatever reasons you're submitting for. So if you're the type of person that really likes to kind of take control of what you got going on, and you like to be able to see your stuff, and you like to be able to track your orders and follow your orders and know when they're coming, then maybe submitting on your own is probably the way to go as well. I know a lot of these companies have membership programs that you can sign up for, pay a little bit up front, and you'll get kind of like a discount, a spread over the, however many you submit. PSA, I know, used to give vouchers. I don't think they're doing that anymore, but submitting on your own kind of has its perks as well. But the other thing too is that once the cards are graded, if you submit with a group submitter, they're going to go to the group submitter. The group submitter is going to split them up and then ship them over to you. So you may incur an additional cost in your shipping. So that's another thing to think about as well. But if you submit directly to the company, they're going to ship it back straight directly to you. You probably get your cards a little bit sooner, things like that. And so, you really need to pay attention to, number one, why it is that you're submitting your cards. What's the reason for submitting your cards? How many cards are you submitting? The cost of it, and whether or not it makes sense for you to relinquish some of that control to another group, or I guess in this case it's an intermediary, right? Or it's like a middleman, basically. If you're willing to relinquish some of that control for a few dollars off of each card, or if you're the type of person that just really likes to hold on to that control and you're willing to pay for it, that's essentially what you're kind of the big toss up is here. Like I said, I've gone through both scenarios. When I first got into grading, I didn't know anything. I went on the websites. They were all very intimidating. I really didn't understand what was going on. And so I submitted through a group submitter. As I got more familiar with cards and things like that, I stopped and I submitted. My phone's right here, baby. Here. Yes, you can have it. Here. Yeah. All right, girl. Get out. Did I say yes? Yeah, I said yes. Go, get out of here. So I submitted through a group submitter when I first got into grading, and then as things progressed and as I got more into the hobby again, and as I started to get a little bit more comfortable with some of the set names and some of the sets and things like that, I got a little bit more brave and I started submitting on my own. And so if you are new to getting cards graded, then group submitters can be a very good resource as you get back into the hobby and you feel a little bit more comfortable with submitting on your own. But it's just something that I wanted to talk about because I think that, not really much gets talked about in terms of why people submit with group submitters. I know I've seen some people in the wake of this whole Mark's card issue go,
why would you even submit with a group submitter? That's so dumb. It's just a middleman, da-da-da, this, that, and other.
And I think they provide a lot more of a service than just a simple middleman. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. There's a ton of great group submitters out there. There's some really big ones out there. There's some other smaller ones that do some great work as well. I've used really just one, which I'll link in the description if you guys want to use. It's a Facebook group for SGC submissions and PSA submissions. So if you guys want to use that, feel free. But anyway, what are your thoughts on all this? Do you guys submit exclusively through a group submitter? Do you submit exclusively for yourself? And how did you if you do submit exclusively for yourself, how did you get through the kind of the awkwardness of just doing it, submitting through it, on your own for the first time? Was it intimidating and things like that? And for those of you that submit strictly through group submitters, what do you think is the biggest benefit there, and why do you continue to do it? So I'm curious to get everybody's thoughts on that. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Love y'all. Peace.